What's up guys, I'm Dmitry with HardwareCanucks, and my experience with the OnePlus 3 has been phenomenal, and many would agree that this is one of the better value smartphones currently on the market. But it is being replaced with the OnePlus 3T with better specs and a higher price point. Now the original OnePlus 3 is approaching its end-of-life status, and that means it will no longer be sold as stock runs out. So which of these two should you pick up now? Find out after this. Introducing the new OCZ VX500 solid-state drives from Toshiba. It offers great, well-balanced speeds built with MLC NAND flash for superior endurance and is also backed by a 5-year advanced warranty program. Learn more about the VX500 at ocz.com. So interestingly, the 3T is only sold in the new gunmetal color with a soft gold option coming later. The slightly darker tone is subtle, but it's clear that OnePlus is moving away from the staple silver color to have some stronger device recognition. I think the move to upgrade the internals to a Snapdragon 821, grow the battery capacity to 13%, bump up the storage option to 128GB, and also improve the selfie camera to 16 megapixels versus 8 on the OnePlus 3, and all of these kind of place the 3T ahead of the specs game without modifying the thickness or the physical characteristics of the device. And you know what? The $40 difference between the 64 and the 128GB is very reasonable, and good news, it seems that they've updated the NAND flash on the 3T, scoring significantly higher than the OnePlus 3, and the 3T also scores better than my Galaxy S7. This means boot up times on the 3T is about 12 seconds faster compared to the OnePlus 3, updating applications doesn't take as long, but aside from that, there are no other significant differences in everyday use because of this storage. The 6GB of RAM is kind of a big deal. This smartphone has more memory than 37% of the player base on Steam during the month of November. But does that actually make a difference for multitasking? And yes, it does. You have 14 applications running in the background, which allows you to return to any of those applications without the need to load them again. The entire speed and smoothness equation is really on point. No complaints with operation. I love the capacitive fingerprint sensor that gets me into my phone much faster than having to physically press the button on my S7 that now appears quite heavy. Physically, nothing's changed. I think that's for the better. I don't mind the 1080p resolution, and AMOLED blacks are fantastic. Out of the box, white balance was kinda on a cold side, but that can be adjusted, plus an sRGB mode is available, but with that mode things look a little bit dull without the vibrancy you'd expect from a smartphone. The camera bump is still here, that is very well hidden with a cover, of which there are plenty, and help tremendously with holding the slippery device. Now sure, you are covering the beautiful aluminum, but you could go with the darker woods that look awesome, or the plain sandpaper, which is my favorite. It's great to hold, plus a reminder of something unique to OnePlus. The alert slider is amazing with do not disturb and silent modes that you can easily customize. I use this most often when going to bed instead of scheduling the do not disturb time, or muting it when I'm in a meeting, and more Android phones need to have this slider. All buttons feel satisfying aside from learning not to lock your phone while adjusting the volume, because they're opposite of each other, and that's the only crappy thing about the handling. The applied screen protector on the 3T is wider and thus not as annoying when sliding from the side, and I mention this because on the OnePlus 3 it is way too narrow and you can constantly feel it during use when sliding from either side. The speakers at the bottom sitting beside the Type-C connection with USB 2.0 speeds and a headphone jack. I could not tell the difference in audio quality compared to the OnePlus 3, but it is more powerful than the S7 with a slightly warmer sound signature. As for actual phone elements, no complaints with the call speaker, but the vibration motor is terrible. It is even weakened with the cover installed, so basically I cannot feel it in my pants pocket while standing, although a pretty loud bottom speaker is there to compensate. Dash charging is awesome, but how fast is it with the larger battery? I did a test with the screen on full brightness on airplane mode. We went from 1% to 98% in 1 hour and 17 minutes, but I realized this scenario is kind of unrealistic, so I redid the test, charging with the screen off with the Wi-Fi on, and in 15 minutes we juiced up pretty well, and that is awesome to see. The main camera can shoot RAW. I love that Snapseed app now supports RAW editing, and exporting final images are surprisingly fast, but still I find the auto white balance to be inaccurate. As for the front selfie cam though, they have doubled the megapixel count from the OnePlus 3, but I find more selfies on the 3T to come out blurry, plus the shutter delay is definitely more noticeable. The front camera on the OnePlus 3 is faster with better detail in most of the time, despite having only half the megapixel count. The software, as expected, is very clean. We have lots of customization available, although you still cannot have 5 columns of icons on your main screen, which is such a shame for such a large display. However, they have improved some things like swiping from the top to access settings that don't need to expand fully unless you do that extra slide, but they've removed the recently closed app drawer at the bottom, a function that I found really helpful on the OnePlus 3. Also, another thing I've noticed, the scroll speed on the touchscreen I think is a little bit too sensitive, especially coming from the S7. So for scrolling apps like Instagram or Twitter, I keep missing the post and have to scroll back up. You can adjust to it, but the overall touch interface just doesn't feel as good as on my S7. And so the biggest strength on the OnePlus 3T over the OnePlus 3 is having faster NAND storage, plus having that optional 128GB capacity bump. The front selfie improvement camera didn't need to happen, it is now worse, but as an overall usage experience from the software and just like physical daily usage scenarios, they feel practically identical. As a percentage of the price increase, you're looking at 13% for the base model, but even still, it remains competitive. The 3T in my eyes is worth it due to that faster NAND and the larger battery. And so OnePlus is clearly riding the wave with offering more expensive devices while maintaining their original position in that value segment. So well done. And that is it for the review of the OnePlus 3T. I love the device, but my daily driver still is the Galaxy S7 because of a more consistent primary camera and also just a smaller size. It's just a little bit more comfortable as my daily driver versus something a little bit larger like the OnePlus 3. I'm Dmitry with HardwareCanucks. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to check out our original OnePlus 3 review, linked in the description below, and we'll see you in the next video.